Patel insisted the FBI could keep America safe. But the moment Senator Patty Murray began speaking, it became clear the agency responsible for shielding the country from its most dangerous threats might be running without the tools, the transparency, or even the basic information required to function. Viewers who saw this exchange didn't witness a routine oversight hearing. They witnessed a system sounding an alarm. And the more Murray pressed, the more that alarm grew louder, sharper, and impossible to ignore. What made this moment so gripping is how abruptly the polished image of federal competence peeled away.
With extremely high stakes. And I'm concerned that instead of focusing on the incredibly important mandate to keep Americans safe and to help impartially enforce our laws under your leadership, Director Patel, the FBI has been weaponized to go after Americans who disagree with the president. FBI resources have been diverted away from combating terrorism to focusing on immigration requests. And all of this, the diverted missions, the fewer resources, fewer agents, heightened politicization, is happening now under your watch, and it is, I believe, making Americans less safe. Now, let me just start with the budget. As Ranking Member Van Hollen noted earlier, this hearing is being held without the FBI's fiscal year 2025 spend plan and a full budget request for fiscal year 2026. The spend plan is required by law. It was due to Congress over a week ago. We have not yet seen it. That is really absurd. The FBI is our nation's leading law enforcement agency, a budget of $10.7 billion. It is critical that we understand how you are spending taxpayer dollars. So, Director Patel, when should we expect this FY25 spend plan for the FBI? Have you seen it? Have you reviewed it? When will we get it?
I'll get you an answer, ma'am. I don't have a timeline on that.
It was due last week by law.
I understand.
And your answer is you just understand. You're not going to follow the law?
My answer is that I am following the law, and I'm working with my interagency partners to do this and get you the budget that you are required to have.
And you have no timeline?
No.
Well, we also need a full budget request, not a single paragraph full of wild talking points that we saw with the skinny budget proposal. We're now having a budget hearing without a budget request. So, Director Patel, where is the FY 2026 budget request for the FBI?
It's being worked on, ma'am.
Have you reviewed it? Have you approved it?
Not yet.
When will we get it?
As soon as I can get it from my interagency partners and get it approved.
6 months from now?
I don't know, ma'am. I'm not going to make up a timeline.
Well, how do we as Congress do our budget and our work without that request and without the spend plan?
Well, ma'am, I'm here. I'm doing the best I can. I can't make up answers. I'm going to commit to you to work on getting you the information you need.
That is insufficient and deeply disturbing. No response?
I've given my response.
Well, the FBI is already down 1,900 employees since 2023 as a direct result of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And under the Trump administration, FBI agents, analysts, linguists, cyber experts, and scientists are being asked to do a lot more in order to keep us safe. Director Patel, we all know that budget cuts will reduce the FBI's ability to counter threats of terrorism, and it will hinder its ability to keep pace with firearm background checks and shutter operations that combat violent crime, drugs, gangs, and transnational organized crime. Now, I understand that you told our House colleagues yesterday that you don't want to reduce the FBI workforce, meaning that you disagree with what President Trump is proposing?
No, I agree that we can sustain the mission with the proposed budget, and I agree with the budget. And as I said yesterday, I believe that what I said was I can do more with more. And I gave examples of what more we could do if we were given more.
Well, it's different than what you told the House yesterday. So what are you communicating to the President and the White House about what you need? And again, we don't have a budget request from you, so I'm not sure what you're asking us for.
I'm not asking you for anything at this time.
You can operate without a budget?
I never said that.
Well, this is unprecedented. Okay, well, let me just go to another topic since you're not going to answer that. The FBI partners with state, local, and tribal law enforcement organizations. They provide critical intelligence and operational capabilities to combat violent crime and gangs and terrorist threats, fentanyl trafficking, challenges that our local communities really can't face alone. I'm going to give you an example. A few years ago, the Southeast Washington Safe Streets FBI Task Force worked with our Benton County and Franklin County Sheriff's Office, multiple Tri-Cities police departments, and the State Corrections Department to carry out one of the largest ever drug seizures in the region's history. Now we've got an administration already cutting more than $800 million in assistance in 2025 to local law enforcement organizations while proposing a $500 million cut for the FBI. Director Patel, can you explain to this committee how cutting resources for our local law enforcement partner agencies the FBI relies on to help your bureau keep safe? How do you expect the FBI and local law enforcement to do more without those significant resources they need?
The FBI will continue to do what it does, which is work with embedded state and local law enforcement officers in our Joint Terrorism Task Force, in our Safe Streets Task Force, in our gang task forces. Those are a priority. Those billets have been maintained. Those billets have not been reduced. And with my reorientation, reprogramming that we've notified Congress to, you will see an augmentation in the field in every single state in this country.
Well, again, we need to see the numbers and we need to see that budget from you. Let me ask you about the NICS system. The FBI is really on the front lines of keeping guns out of the hands of very dangerous criminals. The NICS serves a really critical role in enhancing national security and public safety by conducting background checks. You know this. They are supported by the vast majority of American people, and I wanted to ask you this morning, will you commit to continuing to fund and run the FBI background check system?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to ask one final question here, Mr. Chairman. I want to talk again about how the FBI is focusing its resources. President Trump has turned the Department of Justice into a tool to go after his perceived enemies, and many of the actions we have now seen at the FBI are alarming. The FBI has reassigned and pushed out career FBI agents for political reasons. We have seen fear and intimidation promoted throughout the Bureau, including by polygraphing your own staff. We've seen the arrest of a sitting judge in Wisconsin, and during your confirmation hearing, you committed that there would be no politicization, no retribution at the FBI under your leadership. You've reportedly placed FBI employees responsible for investigation January 6 cases on leave. Is that keeping up your promise of no politicization, no retribution?
It is, because that's wildly inaccurate. Let me tell you what the FBI has done since I got there. 8,276 federal arrests, to 820 kilograms seized of fentanyl. That's enough to kill 250,000 people, over 3,000 firearms seized, 350 gang cases, 3,000 cases against violent criminals.
That's not my question. We know that you...
Well, you asked if I was weaponizing the FBI, and I am not. I'm giving you the hard, concrete examples of the men and women putting handcuffs on bad people, doing harm to our children and innocent Americans. I do not see weaponization.
You have placed on leave FBI employees responsible for the investigation of January 6th. That sounds political to me.
I have not placed anyone on leave who has not violated their ethical obligation or their oath to the Constitution.
So if they were investigating January 6th, you believe they were violating an ethical obligation?
Nope. I think the common theme here is you putting words in my mouth, and I'm not going to tolerate it, nor will the men and women of the FBI.
Well, you did place on leave an analyst responsible for investigating Russia's meddling in the 2016 election. Is that politicization? Is that retribution?
No, not if she broke the law or the ethical guidelines. I don't know which case you're talking about, but that's the standard. And we will hold ourselves inwardly accountable, and we will not be strayed from our mission because people think we are politicizing the Bureau. If you want to talk about someone who was attacked by a weaponized Bureau, you're looking at him. And now he's the director of the FBI, and he's cleaning it up.
Well, I would just say to everyone who's listening that the FBI needs to be focused on its mission to keep the entire country safe. It should not be weaponized for partisan political gain. Thank you,
We are.
Chairman.
Senator Kennedy.
Murray didn't posture or dramatize. She did something far more powerful. She asked simple questions. Questions anyone leading a national security agency should answer instantly. Questions about budgets, staffing, priorities, and commitments. Instead of answers, she got silence, hesitation, and confusion. And that contrast set the stage for a stunning unraveling. She begins with a calm but unmistakably serious tone, reminding the room and everyone watching, that the FBI is not a standard agency processing paperwork. It stands at the center of national security. It intersects with nearly every threat Americans fear most. It disrupts extremist plots, intercepts online attacks, confronts organized crime, hunts down cyber intrusions, protects sensitive intelligence, and shields children from predators. It works across every state, every jurisdiction, and every digital corner of the modern world. It is the line between order and chaos. So when she points to a problem, the stakes are far larger than politics. And the first problem lands like a shockwave. The FBI's legally mandated spend plan, the document that explains how billions of taxpayer dollars are being used, is missing. Not late. Missing. Congress needed this plan a week earlier. It never arrived. Murray asks Patel a direct question. When will we receive it? He has no answer. Not next week. Not we're finalizing it. Not even we're working through internal review. Just nothing. He cannot provide a date, a range, or even an estimate. He cannot confirm if he reviewed the document at all. The head of the FBI, with a budget exceeding $10 billion, cannot explain where the Bureau's own financial reports are. Murray tells him plainly that the plan is required by law. He responds that he understands. But understanding without action is another kind of failure, one that signals something deeper than a procedural hiccup. Because if the FBI can ignore one legal mandate, why not others? If the agency can operate without explaining how it spends money, what else is happening without oversight? Yet before Patel can recover, Murray moves to the next point, the next missing piece. There is no full budget request for the coming fiscal year. Congress is holding a budget hearing about the FBI's resources, without the FBI providing the essential document that makes that hearing possible. She asks if he has reviewed it, he hasn't. She asks if he has approved it, he hasn't. She asks when it will be ready, he doesn't know. When she asks if it might take 6 months, he cannot say yes or no. He simply cannot say anything at all. And in that moment, the hearing transforms. It stops being an inquiry about numbers and becomes an inquiry about competence. How does an agency this large, this powerful, this vital, operate without a basic financial blueprint? How does its leader walk into Congress unprepared to discuss the very foundation of its mission? She points out the obvious. Without these documents, Congress cannot do its job. Funds can't be allocated responsibly. Priorities can't be assessed. Threats can't be matched with resources. It's impossible to measure whether the FBI is equipped to confront cyber warfare, domestic extremism, organized crime, or foreign interference when the director cannot account for the basics. And then the real magnitude of the crisis begins to materialize. The FBI has lost nearly 2,000 employees in a single year. That number alone is staggering, but the details make it worse. These aren't generic positions. These are highly specialized roles. Linguists decoding foreign communications, scientists analyzing evidence, cyber experts confronting digital intrusions, intelligence analysts piecing together threat patterns. As these positions disappear, the gaps they leave behind grow wider and more dangerous. Despite all this, Patel insists the FBI can sustain the mission. But Murray doesn't accept platitudes. She demands clarity. What are the Bureau's actual capabilities? How can they address 21st century threats with 20th century staffing? How can they track domestic extremists or monitor foreign adversaries without the personnel needed to do the work? There is a contradiction embedded in Patel's answers, a contradiction Murray refuses to ignore. You cannot lose thousands of employees, absorb deep funding cuts, and then claim everything is fine. Agencies don't magically operate at full strength with half the tools. Something is giving way. Something is breaking. And Murray wants the country to see that before it's too late. She then turns to one of the most underappreciated truths of federal law enforcement. The FBI cannot function alone. So much of its strength comes from its partnerships with state, local, and tribal agencies. Across the country, joint task forces work by blending federal reach with local expertise. Together they dismantle gang networks, intercept trafficking operations, track violent offenders, and monitor individuals who pose threats across jurisdictions. Local departments rely on federal support for intelligence, technology, and manpower. Federal teams rely on local officers for real-time information on the ground. When the FBI's resources shrink, these partnerships weaken. And when those partnerships weaken, entire regions become vulnerable. Murray uses a real example, the Tri-Cities drug seizure, one of the largest in the region's history. It happened only because local forces and the FBI worked seamlessly together. Now imagine that operation without enough analysts, without enough agents, without enough equipment, without enough funding. Imagine delays in forensic analysis, leads sitting unreviewed, operations postponed because manpower isn't available. That's the future she warns about, and one that's already unfolding. From there, she moves to something that directly touches millions of households: the National Background Check System. This system isn't abstract. It affects whether dangerous individuals can acquire weapons. It affects timelines, safety protocols, and whether red flags are caught or missed. If the system slows, if staffing falls, if funding dries up, accuracy and speed vanish. And when that happens, consequences can be deadly. She asks Patel plainly if he will commit to fully running and funding it. He says yes. But after everything else, the missing budgets, missing plans, missing timelines, even a simple yes feels uncertain still. None of this is the moment that electrifies the hearing, that comes when Murray raises the issue of politicization. She cites what she calls alarming patterns: agents reassigned after working on politically sensitive cases, analysts pushed out, individuals placed on leave without transparent explanations. She isn't leveling accusations. She's demanding transparency, because the FBI cannot function if the public suspects, or discovers, political motivations shaping investigative decisions. Patel reacts sharply. He pivots to crime statistics and enforcement achievements, highlighting seizures and arrests. But Murray wasn't asking about operations. She was asking about integrity. The question isn't whether the FBI arrests criminals, it's whether it treats all cases equally, without political influence. Her concern isn't theoretical. When employees who investigated sensitive matters are suddenly moved aside, the appearance of retaliation damages the Bureau's credibility. And credibility is everything. If the public believes the FBI operates based on political loyalty rather than evidence, the agency's authority collapses. Cooperation from local departments suffers. Judges scrutinize warrants more closely. Juries become skeptical. Intelligence sources hesitate to share information. Trust slowly erodes until the whole institution falters. Why bringing this into the open? Murray lays out the stakes of the moment. She isn't accusing. She's questioning. And the country deserves answers. Patel's defensiveness only deepens the tension as the hearing approaches its end. The unresolved issues form a list that is almost overwhelming: a missing spend plan, missing budget request, nearly 2,000 employees gone. Cuts weakening national and local enforcement, strains on the background check system. Political concerns swirling around sensitive investigations. A director unable or unwilling to provide clear explanations. These aren't minor administrative problems. They are structural issues that could shape the nation's safety for years. They suggest an agency drifting away from stability and toward improvisation, secrecy, and inconsistent leadership. And when Murray delivers her final message, the tone becomes unmistakable. This is more than criticism. It's a warning. The FBI cannot keep the country safe if its inner workings are collapsing. It cannot respond to 21st century threats with outdated budgets, empty staffing, and uncertain direction. It cannot maintain legitimacy if political pressure, or even the appearance of political pressure, influences decisions. A democratic society cannot rely on law enforcement agencies whose operations are hidden from oversight. Her final point lingers long after the exchange ends. Oversight is not an attack. It is a safeguard. Without it, institutions decay. Without it, public trust fades. Without it, national security weakens, not because threats become stronger, but because the systems designed to counter them become unstable. The hearing becomes a moment where the public sees not just a clash but a crossroads. One path leads to transparency, accountability, and the reinforcement of democratic structures. The other leads to improvisation, confusion, and a slow erosion of trust, the kind of erosion that no number of seizures or arrests can repair. What Murray exposed is not simply a budget crisis. It's a governance crisis, a clarity crisis, an accountability crisis, one that threatens the very mission the FBI claims to uphold. If you found this deep dive engaging and want more breakdowns like it, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.